The question that I had about this particular text is whether or not it actually came true. Did it come true?
This is Jeremiah 33. Yes.
33. Yeah. Did Jesus rescue Israel and Judah and a lot of them live in safety?
Yeah.
When?
Well,
show me in the Bible where it happened.
One, you're not going to like this, obviously. Spiritually. Two,
spiritual.
It's a gradual thing. Can you let me answer?
Do you pay your taxes spiritually?
Can the New Testament claim prophecies that were never actually prophecies in their original context? That's the challenge atheist Justin puts to a Christian apologist as he scrutinizes some of Christianity's most well-known Old Testament fulfillment claims. From Hosea and Zechariah to the Psalms, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, the discussion quickly turns into a clash over context, typology, authorial intent, and the rules for interpreting Scripture. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it.
He says, when Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. Is that in the past tense or the future tense?
Past tense.
Past tense, okay. Are prophecies in the future tense or the past tense?
They are in the future tense, but it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to have only one meaning, like in the immediate context. It can have one meaning in the immediate context and another meaning in another context.
Oh, we're 2 down already. Okay, so the actual context of Hosea 11 doesn't matter, does it?
No, and I can give you a perfect example of how the Old Testament does this.
That's okay.
I know you wouldn't like to.
It's my cross-examination, so just keep listening. Okay, now let's go also to, I want to go to 3 different passages. Let's go to Matthew 27:7, and we've got a really interesting prophecy here, kind of, that is uttered about Jesus being betrayed. It talks about the 30 pieces of silver in Matthew 27:7-10. Everyone knows Jesus was betrayed for 30 pieces of silver. It says, after conferring together, this is already after Judas gave the money back, it says after conferring together, they used them to buy the potter's field as a place to bury foreigners. For this reason, that potter's field has been called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet Jeremiah, and they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of the one on whom a price had been set. On him some of the people of Israel had set a price, and they gave them for the potter's field as the Lord commanded. Okay. Do you know where in Jeremiah it says this, where it says that they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of the one whom a prince had been set?
What verse was this in Matthew 27, where it says Jeremiah?
It's Matthew 27, and we're in verse 9 right now. It says, then was fulfilled what was spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of the one on whom a price had been set.
Yeah, no, I don't have it on with Jeremiah here. I have it with Zechariah.
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, it doesn't actually come from Jeremiah. He's actually conflating 2 different prophecies together by accident. This comes from Zechariah chapter 11. And do you know what happens in Zechariah chapter 11?
No, yeah, so in Zechariah 11... No, I just have the shorthand here.
Mm-hmm. In Zechariah chapter 11, the prophet himself receives wages to be a shepherd, and then he actually gives up early and ends up giving the money back. And then he gives the money back to the treasury because he didn't actually complete his job. Nobody was actually betrayed in Zechariah chapter 11. So how was it that Jesus was betrayed in Matthew 27, fulfilling a prophecy in Zechariah chapter 11, when there's no actual betrayal and no Messiah mentioned?
Yeah, this is because you're forcing a specific type of interpretation, like I mentioned in my cross-examination, because we have a rabbinic source, one of the most respected rabbis, who's in every single Talmud by the name of Rashi, who says in Zechariah that the 30 pieces of silver explicitly refers prophetically to the Messiah rejected and betrayed for a trivial price. This is somebody who rejects the Christian doctrine of Jesus as the Messiah, just so you know.
Well, you don't respect the interpretation of Rashi because Rashi disagrees with your Messiah. So appealing to Rashi doesn't actually help you. I'm not asking about Rashi. I'm actually about the text. Can you show me in the text where it actually talks about a Messiah being betrayed?
Well, I just showed you a possible interpretation of it.
Does it say Messiah in the text anywhere?
No, it's like I said, you're forcing a specific
Does anybody
interpretation.
actually get betrayed in the text?
No, this is a typology.
Okay, so it's not actually a prophecy; it's a typology.
Right.
Okay, cool. Just checking. All right. Now let's go real quick to John 13:18, and we're going to find some more goodies there.
Sorry, was John 18:18?
John 13:18.
Sorry.
Okay. In John 13:18, Jesus talks about his betrayal. So we're still talking about Jesus' betrayal. And it says, I'm not speaking of all of you, referring to his disciples. I know whom I've chosen, but it is to fulfill the scripture. The one who ate my bread has lifted his heel against me. So should I be able to find a prophecy in the Old Testament about Jesus being betrayed by someone who ate bread with him?
Again, if you take this specific interpretation of prophecy that nobody else does, then yeah, you shouldn't be. You probably won't find it.
Okay, so there's not actually one, because this comes from Psalm 41.
In the sense that you're making it, no. But yeah, in Psalm 41, it's there. But it's not in the sense that you want it to be.
You're right. Exactly. There is something in Psalm 41, and it's not actually a prophecy. In fact, who's speaking in Psalm 41?
I'd have to bring it up.
Mm-hmm. It's a Psalm of David. Presumably, it's David speaking, right? And David says, even in verse 5, he says, my enemies wonder in malice. When will I die and my name perish? Okay, so this is David giving a lament, is it not?
Yeah, and again, this is exactly how the Old Testament interprets the Old Testament, which follows the New Testament's way of interpreting the Old Testament.
Definitely doesn't. So the person speaking in Psalm 41 is King David, and it's not a Messiah. It's actually a sinner. He says, as for me, I said, O Lord, be gracious to me, heal me, for I've sinned against you. And then he talks about how he's been betrayed by even his close friends. In verse 9, he says, even my close friend in whom I trusted, who ate of my bread, has lifted his heel against me. So how is it that you're saying this is not actually a prophecy, this is a typology, but how would one know what is and isn't a typology? Being that
that's exactly the question that I asked you in my cross-examination. Apart from the normative authority of the church, you can't.
So you just have to accept somebody else's word then. You can't actually examine it yourself.
Yeah, because if you do, then your worldview reduces to absurdity, as I easily showed.
You definitely didn't show that. So what you're suggesting is that it's a prophecy because the church tells you it's a prophecy. Through the scripture, through the normative authority of the church's interpretation of the scripture, yes, because again, if you deny it, your worldview is reduced to absurdity. Yeah, no, it's not.
Saying my worldview falls apart unless I accept the church's authority doesn't really solve the problem. It just pushes it back a step. The whole question was how we're supposed to recognize a prophecy from the text itself. Throughout this exchange, every time a passage didn't seem to fit its original context, the answer became, you're reading it the wrong way. But if the meaning of a passage only becomes clear after accepting the authority interpreting it, then the prophecy isn't really doing the convincing anymore. The authority is. That's a subtle but important reversal. Instead of the text leading you to the conclusion tells you how to read the text. And once you do that, it's hard to imagine any passage that couldn't be reinterpreted after the fact.
Okay, so as it turns out then, the actual genre of the text doesn't matter. The authorial intent of the text doesn't matter. The grammar doesn't actually matter either. Let's look at
a question.
No, we're about to see a question in Zechariah 9:9 though, because when Jesus rode the donkey, well, actually double donkeys in Matthew chapter 21 into Jerusalem, it said that he did so to fulfill a prophecy. You're probably familiar with this. This comes from Zechariah 9:9. I've got questions about Zechariah 9 for you. So in Zechariah 9, it says, rejoice, O greatly, O daughter Zion. Shout aloud, O daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you. Triumphant and victorious is he, humble and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Was Jesus ever a king?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Can you show me the passage where he was actually on the throne?
Yeah, Revelation.
In Israel? That didn't happen yet.
Yes, it did. He is the ruler of the kings of the earth.
A revelation didn't occur yet. It's a vision for the future.
All of Revelation didn't occur yet?
No.
Okay. Let me find the passage for you then.
So I want to see an actual passage where Jesus is on the throne in Israel.
You're not going to find that because you're forcing an interpretation.
You're not going to find that. Yeah. because that's what the Old Testament says. The Old Testament says
Revelation
he's gonna be
1:5,
king
by the way.
in Israel. In Israel.
Yeah, and where is
Okay.
Israel?
Israel is a country that happens to be in the Middle East, which is why
And the Old
Micah
Testament never talks
5:2
about.
which is why Micah 5:2 says that he's going to be a ruler in Israel. That's where
Right.
he's actually going to be. Let's look at a couple more prophecies. I'm actually really
He is currently.
He's in Israel right now.
Right now, the new Israel.
He's very deceptive if he's in the new Israel right now. Okay. Have you read Jeremiah 33?
I have. Do I know it off the top of my head? No.
No, it's okay. The Messiah shows up in Jeremiah 33. This is an actual messianic prophecy, not some garbage like prophecy from typology.
Okay, get on with your question here.
In 14, it says, "The days are surely coming, says the Lord, when I will fulfill the promise that I made to the house of Israel and the house of Judah. In those days and at that time, I will cause a righteous branch to spring up for David, and he shall execute justice and righteousness in the land." This is definitely a messianic prophecy, right? The one that springs up from David. Okay. It says, "In those days, Judah will be saved and Jerusalem will live in safety." Did Jesus cause that to happen?
It's a gradual change.
Yeah. Oh, because it says in those days.
Right.
When obviously when David is there.
When
the king is there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't actually happen.
Even in rabbinic Judaism, which is the form of Judaism that exists today, there is a concept of Messiah ben Joseph and Messiah ben David.
I'm very familiar. That comes with Sukkah chapter 52, and I'm way more familiar with it than you. And those are two different messiahs.
That's fine.
And in Sukkah 52, it actually mentions that there are four different people, not two different people. It doesn't say anything about a messiah coming twice. You actually have to read the literature, not quote what somebody else told you about the literature.
But it's so literally there. The idea of two comings is there.
No, it's not. Not even close.
It's two different people, but that's still an idea of two comings. And the reason they have to separate it into two different people
it's not. You're wrong.
To try to solve the contradictions there.
Because in Sukkah 52, it literally says that the one that died is going to be looked upon by the one that is still alive. The Messiah ben David is going to look upon Messiah ben Yosef and pity his death.
And is that one coming?
They're going to be alive at the same. They're at the same time.
So it's two
happen at the same time. They're both. No, it's not. They're going to be alive at the same time.
Two people come one time.
They're going to be alive at the same time, two people, and one of them is going to die, and the other one is going to pity the one that died.
Then why does Rashi say that one of the messiahs will come back?
I do want to give Justin his chance to ask his questions as well, as there was a couple of questions from you recently. Wi-Fi.
All right. So the question that I had about this particular text is whether or not it actually came true. Did it come true?
This is Jeremiah 33. Yes.
33. Yeah. Did Jesus rescue Israel and Judah and a lot of them live in safety?
Yeah.
When?
Well,
show me in the Bible where it happened.
One, you're not going to like this, obviously. Spiritually. Two.
Spiritual.
It's a gradual thing. Can you let me answer?
Do you pay your taxes spiritually?
No, because there's actually different proofs for different questions.
Do you go to work spiritually?
That?
What's it mean to be a spiritual fulfillment?
Yeah. A spiritual fulfillment. So when Jesus saves spiritually, he saves your soul. So has he saved those in Israel? Has he saved their soul?
That's not an answer to my question. My question is, how do you know when something is a spiritual fulfillment? What's the criteria?
Well, you look at what the New Testament says.
It's whatever the New Testament says. You presuppose that the New Testament is true rather than using your own mental faculties.
Well, like you said, we don't have to justify our presupposition. So yeah, here you go.
Okay, so if you go to Ezekiel chapter 34 and Ezekiel 37, I'll pull up 37 first. We've got another actual messianic prophecy. I want to know if this one came true. So if you go to Ezekiel 37:24, it says, "My servant David shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd. They shall follow my ordinances and be careful to observe my statutes, and they will live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob, in which your ancestors lived, they and their children, and their children's children shall live there forever, and my servant David will be their prince forever." Did that happen?
Again, this is a gradual fulfillment, even as Rashi points to.
Listen, just appealing to Jewish interpretation won't help you.
That's
they
fine.
Your
obviously, I disagree
Messiah,
with them.
So I really don't care that you found one interpretation
No,
from the
it's
Jews that you
it's
like.
the.
So the fact of the matter is,
You're not gonna
Jesus
let me
didn't
answer,
fulfill
that's
this,
fine.
did he?
Are you going to let me
He
answer
didn't-
this time?
So he didn't fulfill
He
it.
did
then.
fulfill it. Yes.
Oh, can you show me in the Bible where it happened?
Where? Go ahead and what verse in 36 so I can show you.
Because it says that he's going to bring them back to the land. It says they will live in the land that I gave to my servant Jacob, in which your ancestors lived. Where is that land?
Well, in two ways: the new Israel, which people live in currently right now, and yes, it will happen again in the future.
Yeah, where is that land?
The physical land is in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
The spiritual
Fantastic.
land is in the new heavens and the new earth.
A spiritual land? What does that even mean? Jeremiah isn't talking about some vague spiritual reality. He keeps pointing to the same land God gave to Jacob, the place their ancestors actually lived. That's a real location, not an abstract idea. And that's what makes this exchange interesting. Every time the prophecy gets too specific, the meaning stretches. The king is spiritual. Israel is spiritual. The land is spiritual. The fulfillment is gradual. At that point, you've got to wonder what couldn't be made to fit. If every detail that doesn't line up can just be reinterpreted, then the prophecy isn't really putting anything on the line anymore. You're no longer asking what the text says. You're asking how much the text can be bent before it finally says what you already wanted it to say.
There's no spiritual land in the new heaven and new
Okay,
earth, according to
a
Ezekiel.
naturalistic assumption.
It's in Ezekiel, the new
Yes, it
heaven
is.
and new earth is described as being on earth, and if you read Ezekiel, you will know that.
So there's
Let's
no.
carry
no
on
heaven.
with Ezekiel
Gotcha.
34. No, there's a new heaven and a new earth. Heaven just means sky in both Hebrew and Greek. In Hashemayim and
So where does God
Uranus
live then?
in Greek, he lives on the upper side of the firmament, according to Psalm 150, and according to Ezekiel chapter 1 and Ezekiel chapter 10, it says
This
God's
is your brain on
throne is
atheism.
on the top of the firmament. I'm literally quoting the scripture to you. So it says in Ezekiel 34, go ahead and pull up 34:11. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, I myself will search for my sheep and will sort them out. The shepherds sort out their flocks when they are among the scattered sheep. So I will sort out my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places which they have been scattered. On a day of clouds and darkness, I will bring them out from the people and gather them from the countries and bring them into their land. And I will feed them on the mountains of Israel by the watercourses and in all the inhabitants of the land." Then he says later on in the chapter, I will set up over them when he brings them back, right? He says, I will set up over them my servant David. Okay, so in the chapter, what's the thing that precedes the Messiah coming?
Why don't you tell me?
The people being rescued from the lands in which they were scattered. And then it says, I will set up one shepherd, my servant David, and he shall feed them, and he shall feed them and be their shepherd, and I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David will be prince among them. I, the Lord, have spoken. Did that actually happen? Did all the
Yes.
people get gathered back into Israel when Jesus came?
Yes, they did.
But they did not. They literally got scattered. They got annihilated by the Romans in 70.
According to
They got
your
annihilated again
interpretation.
between 162 and 163. No, they got wiped out
No,
in
you're
136.
you're
They literally
forcing
got
an
wiped out
interpretation
so
here.
badly. No, I'm not. They
you
got
are.
wiped out. The Roman historian said that there were so many slaves taken from the Bar Kokhba revolt that they couldn't even find buyers for them. They were
that a
completely
question?
wiped out, which is why their land. No, I'm answering your nonsense claim, which is why their land was
That's
renamed.
not what you're supposed to do during a cross-examination, but okay.
I can respond to the things that you say. That's how these things work. Okay. Now, using the same hermeneutical principles, meaning the genre doesn't matter, the context doesn't matter, the grammar doesn't actually matter, the authorial intent doesn't actually matter, and the percentage of completion doesn't matter, then let me ask you a couple questions. Hosea chapter 11 says, out of
I
Egypt
completely disagree with what you just said. Another non-question, by the way.
No, you've already demonstrated that it doesn't matter. So we'll start. Isaiah 65:9.
I mean, to be fair, I do want to stick to the format where you did specifically ask for the cross-examination, gentlemen. So I do want to keep it in the spirit of that. I agree that there were times where Wi-Fi would make remarks on what you had just said. I do want to keep it pithy, though.
Sure. Okay. Isaiah 65:9 says, I will bring forth descendants. How might this be fulfilled?
Through Jesus' spiritual offspring,
How do you know that?
because the New Testament says so.
Where?
See, I'll find something for you. The idea that Jesus is the bridegroom and the church is the bride.
I'm sorry, are brides descendants?
No, but that the descendants come from the church.
Oh, because in Isaiah 65:9, it actually says, I will bring forth descendants from Jacob and from Judah, inheritors of my mountain, and my chosen shall inherit it, and my servants shall settle
How
there.
Paul says that the church is the new Israel. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, so words don't
Not the way that you want them to, no.
All right, just checking. So words don't mean
They have
anything.
meaning.
Cool. Okay, so then in Zechariah chapter 9, we touched on this once. I want to finish this out because I think we got distracted. What does it say about the king that's riding on the donkey in Zechariah 9? What is he actually going to do in that chapter?
I got to pull it up again. Could you read it there?
Yeah, it says, he will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the war horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall command peace to the nations, and his dominion will be from sea to sea. Did that happen?
Well, like I said before, and you won't let me go to the text, but I'll respect it's your cross-examination. The Old Testament interprets the Old Testament in the same way. There is immediate fulfillment and future fulfillment of a text.
Well, that's not in the Old Testament anywhere.
You won't let me go
one
there,
prophecy that Jesus actually fulfilled in the original context of the prophecy? Can you name
all of
one?
them.
You just told me that
in the original context.
In the original context of the prophecy,
there's an immediate context. There's an immediate context of these prophecies.
I've fulfilled more prophecies. 7. I've fulfilled more prophecies than Jesus. You've seen it right here.
Good
I told
question.
you he would deny that prophecy genre matters. He would deny that context matters. He would deny that grammar matters. He would deny that
learn how to debate,
intent matters, and he will deny that completion of prophecy percentage actually matters. All of those things happened. I've fulfilled more prophecies than Jesus. I'm the Messiah. Bob's your uncle. Christianity,
is this a closing
failed
statement?
apocalyptic messianic blood cult.
I think this gets to the heart of the disagreement. This debate comes down to the rules being used to interpret prophecy as a whole. How are you supposed to know beforehand when something is literal, symbolic, spiritual, only partly fulfilled, or still waiting to happen? I never heard a clear answer to that. Any one of those ideas could make sense by itself. But if you can move between them whenever a passage doesn't quite fit, then it starts to feel like the conclusion comes first, and the interpretation follows. And if that's the case, it's fair to ask what a prophecy would have to look like to genuinely fail. If there isn't an answer to that, then the method can't really be tested. It can only be defended. The part that stuck with me was the standard being used to decide what even counts as a prophecy in the first place. Think about what happened. Every time the text didn't seem to point where it was supposed to, the answer wasn't, here's why the text itself says that. The answer became, the church tells us this is how we're supposed to read it. That's a completely different kind of argument. And once you notice that, it's hard to unsee it. If the meaning of a passage only becomes clear after you've already accepted the authority interpreting it, then the prophecy isn't really doing the convincing anymore. The authority is. The text stops being independent evidence because it only points to the conclusion after someone has told you which conclusion to look for. That isn't just a religious issue. You'd never investigate anything else that way. Imagine a detective deciding who committed the crime first, then explaining every piece of evidence through that person's guilt. No matter what turns up, it can always be made to fit. At that point, you're not testing the conclusion anymore. You're protecting it. That's why this debate felt like it was about more than prophecy. It was really about whether our methods allow us to be wrong. A good way of finding truth has to leave room for the evidence to change your mind. If every difficult passage becomes symbolic, typological, spiritual, or awaiting a future fulfillment whenever it's convenient, then the standard never has a chance to fail. And if it can't fail, it's hard to see how it can genuinely confirm anything either. That's the question I'd leave with you. If you had never been told which passages were supposed to be messianic, would you have reached those conclusions just by reading them? I'd love to hear what you think, so drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And be sure to support the original creator by watching the full debate on the original channel.